Hello and welcome everyone to Nightwatch Release Walkthrough 2.5.0. This is Vishal here and I'll be your host for tonight. I see that people are still joining in, so we'll just give it a minute for them to join in. In the meanwhile, I'll start off by introducing myself. So I have been with BrowStack for around about 2 years now. In the product management team, I work with BrowStack local as a product, and currently I'm managing the charter for Nightwatch. Uh, I'll also throw some light on what is a Nightwatch release walkthrough. So after every major release, we walk through whatever features that we have released in that particular release, and we also give a quick demo so that you can get an idea on how to get started with the exciting functionalities that we launch. This is our fourth video in the series, and feel free to check out the previous videos um, by going to our YouTube channel. You will find all our previous videos over there. Right. So I see that people have joined in now and we'll quickly get started. So I'll start off by introducing our panelists for today. So today we have Priyansh Garg, who is a software engineer with Nightwatch. He's worked on a bunch of cool functionalities, like he simplified the entire onboarding flow for Nightwatch. With a simple command, you can just set up Nightwatch and all the drivers very easily. And he has also worked on pause and debug, which will help you debug your tests very easily and quickly. Along with him, joining with us is Ravi Savlani, who's a senior software engineer with Nightwatch. He's also worked on really exciting and cool functionalities such as the HTML reporter and React component tests. So with that out of the way, let's get straight into the agenda. So this is the agenda for today. We'll first be talking about Mobile Helper, which is a tool that we have built, which will help you get started with your with testing your websites or web applications on mobile platforms very easily and very quickly. We'll then move on to how can you integrate Nightwatch into your NX monorepos if you are using monorepos. We will also be talking about how can you do API testing with Nightwatch. Along with that, we will also be giving a quick recap of what we spoke about in a previous release walkthrough video, and we'll also give a sneak peek into what's upcoming and what exciting features we are working on. And after that, we'll just have a quick Q&A session, and then we'll call it a day. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the presentation. So as we all know, in the recent past, the overall usage of mobile phones is increasing. More and more users are accessing websites and web applications via their mobile phones. And that makes it very important for organizations to test their websites and web applications on mobile devices. However, it has always been a huge nightmare to test your websites or web applications on mobile platforms due to the complex setup required. But you have nothing to worry about since Nightwatch is here to solve all your problems. With our mobile helper, we will install each and everything required to run your tests on mobile platforms and browsers such as Chrome on Android and Safari on iOS. And all of that can be done with just running a single command, answering a few questions, and just tweaking the configuration a little bit, and you can be off and running in a few minutes. So to walk us through that and give us a demo, we have Priyansh Garg joining us. Over to you, Priyansh.
Thank you, Vishal. Let me just share my screen. Yeah. So with the launch of Create Nightwatch tool earlier this year and npm Nightwatch command associated with it, it has made super easy for our users to get started with Nightwatch to test their websites or web applications on desktop browsers. Now, as Vishal said, that mobile devices nowadays make up for a significant percentage of sources from where users access these websites. So it becomes important to test your websites on mobile devices as well. And not just testing the responsiveness of your websites by using dev tools in desktop browsers, but to test them on real mobile browsers. Now, while Nightwatch already supported testing websites on mobile browsers for a while, we wanted to make sure that the experience of getting started with testing on mobile browser should be at par with testing on desktop browsers. And when we started working on it, we found that testing websites on mobile browsers is actually a nightmare to get started with, especially when done using Appium. So first you need to go through the Appium docs and figure out how to set it up correctly on your system. Then you need to set up all the platform and driver specific requirements. Like if you want to test on Android, you need to set up all the necessary Android SDK requirements and create a Android virtual device to test on. And if you're testing on iOS devices, you need to download and set up Xcode. And even after that, you need to figure out the right Appium configurations to put in to make the automation work on mobile browsers. And this is all not such an easy task to figure everything out and get the first test running. So we wanted to simplify this problem. And as we dived into it, we found one interesting thing that to test your websites on mobile browsers, you don't actually need Appium. The web drivers, which are shipped by various browser vendors like Chrome and Firefox, already supports this natively. So that was a big relief, as we now wouldn't have to deal with Appium at all to get those tests working. But there's still another major blocker, especially if you want to test on Android devices, which is having to go through the Android documentation and figure out how to set up all the necessary SDK requirements and create an Android virtual device to test on. And that was a major motivation behind the mobile helper tool, to help users with setting up all the mobile requirements to run tests seamlessly, be it Android or iOS. So as you can see here, this is the repository for Nightwatch mobile helper tool. And here we have given some instructions. So if you want to test your website on mobile browsers, you might be in one of two situations. Either you have an all Nightwatch project, which you use to run your website test on desktop browsers. And you might want to expand those tests and test those websites on mobile browsers as well. So for that, you can follow these instructions for Android, and below there are instructions for iOS. So here I have a project where I have not yet set up anything related to Android or iOS. So as you can see in the configs also, these are trivial configs for testing on Firefox, Safari, and Chrome browser. And here are some examples you can see. So here's that Ecoshi example, which we'll be working with. So right now, let me just try to run the test on desktop browser. And let me just run the test on Chrome browser. Okay, let me just go into this project, which is Nightwatch mobile demo, and run the command again. And as you can see, it works fine. So now I want to expand this and also incorporate testing on mobile browsers into it. So following the instructions over here, first I need to install this tool as a dev dependency in my project. So let me just quickly do that. And it's done. So like I already had it installed previously, so it is up to date. And then I can just run this command to set up everything related to Android. So like for Android, you can run npx @nightwatch mobile helper Android, and for iOS, you can run the iOS command. So starting with Android. So first thing is that you need a Android home environment variable setup to run this tool. But as I don't have anything set up, so it asks me where do you want to set up all the Android SDKs? And if I have some path where I have those already set up, I can just pass it here. Otherwise, I can just use the default path which is provided by the tool. And then I can choose where I want to run my tests. So let me just select both real devices and emulator. And then it asks which browser I want to set up on the emulator. So let me just select both. And as you can see that currently I don't have anything set up. So it shows that these are the requirements which are missing. And it asks the question that do you wish to set up these requirements? So if I select yes, it will start to download all these requirements into the folder which I selected earlier, which is this. So while it is downloading all the requirements, let us just walk through the steps. So we have performed this particular step. Let me just close this. Yeah. And it is currently, it has verified all the requirements. And because some requirements were missing, it is now setting up those requirements. And then after like everything is set up, we need to make some changes to the config. So either you can like add these environments in your existing config, or let me just, because the difference is very minimal in the already existing config and the config required to run your test on mobile devices, which is not the case with Appium. So for Appium, you need to write a whole separate config with separate Appium requirements. But if you want to like run your test on Chrome mobile browser or Firefox mobile browser using the browser vendors ship web drivers, you just need to add a few properties here. Like the first property is Android package, which you need to set to chrome.android.chrome. And so it tells the Chrome driver to run the test on mobile Chrome browser instead of the desktop Chrome browser. And because we are installing our new virtual device here, so we can add a property AVD, which stands for Android virtual device. So if we don't pass anything here, Nightwatch just search for the already running Android virtual device and try to run the test on it. But because we want Nightwatch to automatically start the virtual device for us, we'll just add it here that it should start this particular Android virtual device, which will be created by this tool, as you'll see later. So like because system image will take a lot of time, so I already have this downloaded in my downloads folder. So what I'll do is I'll just copy that to this folder by running this command, which will copy the system images from downloads to the folder where I am downloading all the Android SDKs. And it is done. So I can just cancel this particular download. And here you can see that it has downloaded CMD tools, platform tools, emulator, and it was downloading system images, which we have canceled and copied it ourselves. And then it has created a platform subdirectory and done. Like it is all done because we canceled this particular requirement. It is showing error, but we can try to run this command again, and it should show that everything is set up correctly. Selecting both here and both here. So as you can see that everything is set up correctly. And here you can see that this is the AVD which I'm talking about. It is created by mobile helper tool. So I have written down it here so that Nightwatch can automatically start this AVD while running tests. And here you can see that it has checked if Firefox is installed and if Chrome is installed. So if Firefox was not installed, it would have downloaded the latest version of Firefox and installed it in the AVD for you. And then it is asking to install the Chrome driver. So let's just select yes. Like because the Chrome browser shipped in the AVD is quite old, so we need an older version of Chrome driver to work with the factory version of Chrome browser present in the emulator, which we have downloaded here. So one last step in the configuration we need to do is copy the put the path of this Chrome driver executable here. So let me just do that. So like we have only made 3 changes in the configuration. One is to put the Android package. Second is to put the AVD so that Nightwatch knows which AVD to start for running the test. And third is to change the server path here so that it can point to this particular Chrome driver binary. And now if I run my test again, yeah, if I just run this command again, here you can see that it has booted up the AVD, which we just created. And it is trying to run the test now on the Chrome browser present in Android emulator. And it worked. And all the steps which I just followed is already present in this README file of the project. And now moving on to the iOS. So for iOS, because there's just one requirement, which is to download Xcode. It does not, the tool does not do anything in particular, but it just provides a guide how you can like download and set up Xcode. So if I run the mobile helper tool for iOS with the setup flag, and let's just keep Android iOS simulator for now. So because I have Xcode already set up, it is showing the tick mark here. But like just to show you, what I'll do is I'll just run this particular command so that this command above fails. Now, if I run this command again for the iOS simulator, it shows that the Xcode is missing. So because Xcode is already present, if Xcode were not present in my system, it has given clear instructions on how you can download and install Xcode. So this is the easiest way to open the App Store and download from there only. And the preferred way is to download from this URL, because sometimes what happens while downloading from App Store is that it downloads till 90-95% and then it fails. So because it is a very large software, it is preferred to download from the official website here. And after that, you just need to run this particular command by replacing the XX. So let me just find out what my Xcode app looks like. So for that, I can use this command. I can list all the files present in applications and then grab Xcode from it. And here I can see that it's just xcode.app. So let me just run this command to get this working. And let's just keep it xcode.app. So if I run the mobile helper tool again for iOS and iOS simulator, it shows that it is installed in my machine and everything's set up. So because like we have followed till now, let's just make some quick changes because it's very small. So I'll just copy paste it for the simulator part and just put it here. Yeah. And since it's here, let me just try to run the test again, which is npx Nightwatch, and change the environment to iOS simulator Safari. Yeah. And as you can see that it has opened the iOS simulator for iPhone 13, iOS 15.5. And it has opened the Safari browser and trying to run the test now. And it passed. So as you can see here that we were able to run a test on both Android and iOS in our existing Nightwatch project by making just minimal changes. So that was our mobile helper tool. Now, coming to the second situation, like I said before, we wanted the experience to be at par with what we have created with Create Nightwatch to get started with desktop browsers. So we wanted the experience to be like you just run a single command and everything should be set up. So to show you that, let me just create a separate folder to create a new Nightwatch project. Let me just name it Nightwatch demo. And let me just move to that folder. Yeah. And thus that single command is the same as for desktop browser, which is npm Nightwatch. And if you run it, so it asks a few questions. Let me just choose both three browsers, Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. Test localhost. Here we want to test on our local machine. Let's keep it at default. And here, as you can see that we have added a question if you want to set up testing on mobile devices as well. So let me just select yes here. So as you can see here that it automatically downloads the Nightwatch mobile helper tool, which we did in the first step over here. So you don't need to like even take a look at this README file. Everything will be automatically set up for you. So it might take a little time to download all the dependencies. Let me just close this and open the new project. And yeah, Nightwatch and both Nightwatch and Nightwatch mobile helper is installed now. And it is now trying to install all the web drivers. And because I already have Safari driver enabled, I'll just choose no. Okay, yeah. And after that, it has generated examples files, template files, and it has generated a configuration file. And then it has started running the Android setup, which we do here by running this command, but it has already executed that command. So first it is asking for the Android home environment variable, where do we want to like set up all the download and set up all the Android SDKs. And let me just go with the default. Let's just keep both. And because we downloaded all the binaries earlier, we don't need to do it again. So if you can see that we choose the same path again, and because we downloaded all the binaries at this path earlier, it's already present there. And it just booted up the Android virtual device, checked for Firefox and Chrome. And let me just download a Chrome driver as well to work with the factory version present in the Android emulator. And yeah, so let me just walk you through it. So we have all the requirements set up, and this is a warning that you should set the Android environment variable. Like you have seen that I had to like answer this question first in the previous project, and I had to answer this again in this project. So if you don't want to do that, you can set the Android home as an environment variable in your machine. And after that, it started running the iOS setup. And because I have the setup already for the simulators, and I don't want to test on real devices, so let me just skip that. After that, you can see that it has provided all the commands which we can use to run our test. So let us just try first on the desktop browser. And it's working. Now let's just try to run the test on Android emulator. And it passed. And at last, let me just try to run the test on iOS simulator. There seems to be some problem with the simulator. But as you can see, the tests are running and it also passed. Yeah. So as you can see here that by using just a single command, we were able to set up everything, be it the configurations, be it all the SDK requirements and Xcode. And we were able to jump directly to running the test on all the different platforms like desktop browsers or mobile browsers on Android or iOS devices. So that was all from my side. Over to you, Vishal. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyansh. That was a really cool and exciting demo. Uh, Next, we have with us Ravi, who is going to be talking us through two topics. One is how can if you're using NX monorepos, how can you integrate Nightwatch into your NX monorepo? And he will also be talking us through how can you do API testing with Nightwatch. So yes, over to you, Ravi.
Thanks, Vishal. Just share my screen. Yep. Okay. So NX. So NX is a build system that helps you manage your monorepo projects. So we published a Nightwatch NX plugin. What it does, it will help you set up your Nightwatch app inside NX. So without wasting much time, let me just directly jump into the demo and show you how can you do that. So let's create a fresh new NX workspace. By the way, all the commands I'm writing or will be using will always be present on GitHub. You can use like read it from there. So NX create NX workspace, and let's name it first maybe. I'm gonna use it for Express app. Okay, this would take a couple of minutes. Application name, let's, so this is the application name that would be used for Express. So let's name it sandwich. No. So, okay. So right now it's setting up that Express application. It would install all the dependency and all the related configs. It would give us a application inside that integrated mono app. So let's wait for it. We still have time, so I'm just gonna. Okay, at last we have it. So let's jump to that project. It's called repos. And we see we have an apps folder here. Let's jump into it, and we can see we have an app called Sandwich. So let me just launch up NX graph real quick. So this is NX graph, and you can see we have one application Sandwich over here. So now let's jump back to the terminal and let me show you how you can add Nightwatch in this workspace. So the Nightwatch plugin is called @Nightwatch NX. Let me install that Nightwatch NX, and let me install as a dev dependency. Hopefully this won't take much longer. Yeah, there we have it. Now let's, so what this plugin does is it provides you with a generator. So we can use that project. And I'm going to name this end-to-end apps as Sandwich v2. So what it's doing right now, it's creating a Nightwatch project, setting up config, setting up all the data required for NX. It's out. Let's real quick launch the graph again. Yeah. So here we have the old Sandwich Express app, and here we have the new Nightwatch end-to-end application, which has a dependency on Sandwich. So right now it doesn't has any test. It has template test. Let me just show it to you. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Right. So if we go into Sandwich E2E and we see SRC, there are tests, login. So this is a template test. You can use this, write your assertions, right, using Nightwatch commands according to your project. And then let me just run NX E2 here. How can, like, let me just show which, how can you run those Nightwatch app, which is sandwich E2. So right now it won't do anything as it has templates, but you can see there are Chrome browser launching session has started and it would start running Nightwatch commands. So yeah, that's how you can use this new Nightwatch NX plugin to add Nightwatch end-to-end projects to the NX monorepo workspace. So second thing that Nightwatch team published is API testing. So let me just not waste more time and just let's jump into the demo, and I'll clear more things in the demo itself. So in the demo, I have all the things set up for Nightwatch plugin. As you can see, we have downloaded Nightwatch API testing plugin, and I've mentioned it in the config. So all the things to set up are already present on GitHub README. You can use that to set up your project. But let me dive into the test and show you how you can take full advantage of this plugin. So so in this test, what are we testing is, we already, suppose we have a backend application and you want to send request to that application and assert test that application. So this demo has been created for that use case. So if you see in the before hook, what I'm doing is I'm creating an app using Express, like I'm creating a server which is listening to port 3000. And in the test, what I'm doing is I'm using super test. So super test is provided by Nightwatch plugin itself. You can use that to send out requests. So it's sending requests to that server, and it's sending requests on this endpoint, and it's expecting a positive response from that server, and it's asserting on the content type. So this is the first test. Let me just jump to the next test over here. So Nightwatch plugin also provides you with a mock server. So suppose you can use that in your front end applications. You can create a mock server, and your front end applications would send requests to that mock server, and you can assert on what the data has been sent to the mock server. Was it called? What's the endpoint call? So this is the demo which illustrates that example. So in the before hook, what I've used is the mock server that is presented by Nightwatch. So, and inside this mock server, I have created a post endpoint which would reply you with this data, right? So inside the test, I am again sending out a request, and this time I'm asserting from that mock server instance that this request has been called, and what was the request body of it. So a use case would be that your front-end applications might be sending requests, and you wanted to check if that request being sent is correct, like it was pointing to the correct endpoint, it was sending correct params. You can use this mock server for that. You can also, so this mock server instance also provide you with this functions for using which you can use sign-in assertions on it. So right now I'm using whether this endpoint was called once, and I'm also asserting on the request body. You can also assert on headers and everything. Other functionalities like additional functionalities is present on README. You can go through it. And the third test, which is very cool and my favorite right now. So suppose there's an instance of your application sending out a request, and you want to test it, whether that request has been received. So let me just jump to this part of the code. I'll come back to the part above. So over here, we have used wait until function from Nightwatch. And what I'm doing is I still have that server instance, mock server instance, and I'm waiting till the endpoint has been called once. And how long I'm waiting? I'm using this timeout over here. So I'm waiting for this timeout, and I'm retrying on this interval. And if the timeout has been reached, I'll just throw an error and fail the test. And the part above it is just sending a request inside a timeout. So let's run all three of those at once. And we have a failure. Okay, so let's fix it. So it's in wait until. So if I minimize this, you can see the timeout 1500, which is used over here, has been reached, but the request is sent after 2000 milliseconds. So let's change that to, let's say, 500. And let's run the test again. Yep, all pass. Yeah, that's all we have. Do check it out. Over to you, Shiv.
Thank you, Ravi. So these were all the cool functionalities that we launched in our Nightwatch 2.5.0. But just in case you missed it, I will just give a very quick recap of what we also spoke about in our previous release walkthrough video. And feel free to check it out on YouTube by going to our channel. So in our previous release walkthrough video, we if we spoke about the integration of Nightwatch with Storybook. So if you're a front-end developer using Storybook to build out components, you can easily do automation testing by using Nightwatch and Storybook together. We also spoke about how can you do accessibility testing along with components, and how can you run different tests in parallel on multiple browsers. That is designed to save a ton of your time and make the overall execution super fast. So that was it on what we spoke about in the last release walkthrough. Now we'll come to what are the exciting features that we are working on currently, and what can you expect next. So we are completely revamping our HTML reporter. It will have a lot more information about different environments, different error messages, and we will also be showing screenshots, and we'll also be showing DOM snapshots, so you can actually see how your DOM got affected while the test was running in real time. Next is we are working on bringing VRT, visual regressions testing support for Nightwatch, and that will run on end-to-end tests, component tests, and it will also run on mobile. Next big piece, and we are super excited about this, that we are working on, is basically we'll be supporting doing native mobile app testing using Nightwatch. So overall, we are headed in the direction where you will just need one framework to do all different types of testing on web and native mobile apps. And lastly, we want to dramatically improve the test writing experience, and we realize that selectors or finding elements is one of the core kind of factors in the test writing experience, and we are going to be adding a lot more functionality into our selectors so that writing tests becomes much more easier. So these are all the functionalities that are coming up. In case you all are interested to follow us, please do subscribe us on YouTube so that you can get notified on whenever we do our next release walkthroughs, and you can stay up to date with all the functionalities that Nightwatch is releasing. Right, with that, we are towards the end of the presentation. We'll move on to the question and answers. So guys, if you have any questions on what we released in the current 2.5.0 or in any previous releases or anything in general regarding Nightwatch, please feel free to ask them in the chat panel, and we will be happy to answer them. All right, so we have a first question, and it reads, will parallelism work on mobile? I'll let Ravi take this question.
Right. So parallelism, I'll explain in two parts. So in case of multiple environments, if you want to run the tests on, say mobile, Android, iOS, web browser at the same time, it would definitely, you can use multiple environments. But at the same time, if you're talking about parallel threads, we can't launch overload your local machine with launching a multiple emulators and simulators. So it won't work, but definitely you can use cloud providers for that, and it should, parallelism would definitely work in that case.
Okay, super awesome. Thanks for that. Next question is, and this is a very interesting one. It reads, mobile helper sounds cool. Can we use it outside of a Nightwatch project to set up the emulators? So
Let me take that. So yeah, of course, you can use the mobile helper tool outside of Nightwatch. So as you can also read in the README file, which is present in the helper tool repo, although this tool is designed with Nightwatch in mind, it can also be used as a standalone tool to download all the Android SDK's requirement and like set up an Android emulator and also create a Android virtual device. So if you want to use this tool outside of Nightwatch, you can just run the npx @nightwatch/mobile helper Android command, and it will work fine.
all right, awesome. The next question is, what is the best way to set up my Nightwatch configuration for API testing?
Okay, let me take that. So there's not much change in the configuration apart from 2.3. You have to mention plugin. Of course, you're using API testing plugin, and you have to. So as we do not need web browser sessions while doing API testing, you need to set start process and start session to false. The best way would be to create another environment for that and just use it as an environment -- API testing environment.
Awesome. And just to add on to that, you can find all of these things in the README as well of the plugin. Awesome. So I don't see any more questions coming up. So we are anyways over time. So we'll kind of bring this to an end. I would like to thank Priyansh and Ravi both for taking this time out and giving us amazing demos. And thank you everyone else for joining, taking your time out. Before we part ways, I just want to announce one last thing. So if you find any issues or if you have any suggestions, please feel free to raise them on GitHub or join us on our Discord server, and we can chat over there around any issues. If you are looking for updates on Nightwatch, then please subscribe us on Twitter and YouTube. And last but not the least, you can also subscribe us on our Substack, and we will send you a monthly newsletter with all the updates and all the functionalities that we have released in that particular month. So yes, with that, we come to an end of this session. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining in, and have a great week ahead. Thanks. Bye-bye.